manga series by Yukito Kishiro. So iconic, in fact, that several shots from the film are based directly on panels from that manga. We recently got the chance to sit down with Rodriguez and talked through the process of adapting elements of the manga for the big screen.
You know that you're not going to follow it shot for shot the way exactly it is, but the spirit of that certainly is. I started as a cartoonist, and Jim started as an illustrator too, so we love art and graphic novels and this manga. You know, in the graphic novel, for instance, it's more like Kansas City. Well, Jim figured it needs to be closer to the equator for a space elevator to work scientifically, which means Panama City, which means it's going to be a Latin city, which means there'll be lots of color. You know, like, so it's, oh, that's cool. So it's going to be more like a Latin sci-fi environment, real diverse cultures. And so the color palette was already going to be different. That was going to change the look of the film right away and gave us a color palette to go towards. Because when it's just black and white, we could be any color. Well, no, not if it's set in a particular country. That already helps us have a filter about what works, what doesn't work. There's just so much dynamic feelings in this. You try to capture that in the movie. Look at the power of him swinging that thing. I don't even think Christoph ever really saw this frame, but he was already doing it just by me directing him, because this was in my head. I didn't want to just change things for the sake of changing them. I liked the design that he had of the rocket hammer, for instance. So it's like, let's try to make one that looks like it could still really work, but that looks kind of like that. And we did. We found something that felt plausible that could work. If it didn't work, then we would change it. But I didn't want to just start changing it. A lot of times people are making a movie from a comic, they just change everything for the sake of changing it. And I like to go back to the original art and go, that's a cool design. Why don't we just do that? Let's see if we can make that work. And if it doesn't work, we'll change it. But there's a lot of designs pulled right out of the graphic novel. Jim in particular likes things to really look like they could work. My movies, I can just make something whimsical. Like, if that could work, I'd be fine with that. Jim doesn't fly with Jim. He's like, no, the engineering has to be real, otherwise it's not grounded enough in reality and it feels too whimsical. We don't want whimsical. It's got to be grounded in real, otherwise you won't buy the fantasy. I think Jim had already done a design before I came on board, so he changed it completely. When I saw it, it looked more like a praying mantis, and Jim's known for taking things from the animal world or the plant world, the insect world, and because that has a biology and a real working nature that we can relate to, and adapting that to technology. You know, it's just a single frame, but because of the way he draws the lines, you can feel the force of it, and that gives you a direction on just how powerful she is and the kind of speed you're gonna. So how are you gonna convey that in the movie? You're gonna do it with a series of shots, but he only needs one angle to do it, which is amazing. The vertical frame, he uses that a lot, is really powerful, but it only works in a graphic novel. So my solution was, I would get that frame, but only a little bit at a time. That, you see the little girl in the same frame, meaning she didn't know who she was. And she realizes she's got great power, and we didn't know, the audience doesn't know. She's capable of that. And it's like a shock moment of, wow, she's not just strong, she can annihilate a much stronger enemy. This is really where the movie starts. That's why it's such a pivotal scene. Sometimes you have to look at the reason why, people do it and not be so faithful to something just for the sake of being faithful. That's kind of an exercise that only works at a lower budget, to go try to make something exactly like a graphic novel. It's like even the graphic artist would go, hey man, that's just what I could do at the time. Don't let that limit you. You gotta go make something crazy that excites me. When Kishiro saw this, he couldn't believe how much heart there was in the story. We've taken it and run with it. Even the creator likes that. They don't want you to go make it. That already exists, so why make it exactly like that? You're never gonna beat that. So you might as well make something that's its own thing.
Greedy for more Alita Battle Angel? Then check out our review of the film.